Darn it, people, I am gonna finish this video series if it's the last thing I do! What's up, my weebazoids? Probably should never call you guys that again, but who cares? It's time to go balls deep! This will be the fourth and final video in this spoiling of the Elf Arc and Black Clover, and I need to get this out soon because it's only got like 3 or 4 episodes left, and otherwise it defeats the purpose and no one will watch it and will be the laughingstock of the anime community, and I am not gonna waste my time with long, drawn-out intros. You already know what the deal is, but this is the longest video I've ever made, and it's probably the longest I've ever had to speak, so bear with me here. This is video number 4. We are finishing this today, so let's just jump into it. Wait, whoa, hold up for a second, bro. Let's switch it up a bit.
You don't fuck with neck, bro.
Alrighty, so last time we ended with Asta knocking Gosha and Marie back into reality, and finally getting most of the crew back together. After that, we pan back to Gelder and Revchi, and Gelder instantly recognizes the Shadow Palace, already having some knowledge about it, but also believing it to have been a myth. He debates whether he should go inside or not, thinking about how he heard that there were treasures and magical items inside it. But anyway, after that we pan back to the Bulls, and they're recovering and getting ready for the next fight, wherever that may be. And after some chit-chat, they finally get it. Or so they think. But suddenly, the older Vermilion siblings show up and bring the pain! After some more chit-chat, Magna realizes the hole is getting smaller. Mimasa immediately knows this is a bad thing because of what she was told about the final stone being put in the pedestal and what would occur if that were to happen. Suddenly, the elves that Kirsch and Mimasa had taken care of before return for a round 2. At first, Fulgolion and the other captains step up to take them on, but the Black Bulls quickly volunteer to face them and insist the captains should make their way into the Shadow Palace. They'll be needed to take on the threats that await them. Magna also demands that Asta go with them because of his sword. Noelle tries to volunteer as well, but is caught off by Kirsch, who tells Mimasa she should go too, due to her healing magic. She agrees, and it seems the team is set. When suddenly, we hear Solid from on top of a roof yelling, "Hey Noelle, you should go too!" He then continues by saying he's going to surpass her, since he's her big brother and all, but for now, she should go, and that she'd better come back, and proceeds to acknowledge her as one of the strongest of the House of Silva. This makes the Valkyrie dress reveal even sweeter, and if you seriously don't know what that's all about, what the heck are you doing watching this? Either go watch our second Elf Arc recap video, or the one we just did about why Noelle is the most well-written female in Shonen. I think you'll enjoy both quite a bit. Anyway, with that, they leave for the Shadow Palace, and upon getting in, they find themselves in a space that stops you from controlling your magic. Refusing to die, Asta falls straight down and lands smack dab on his face. If that weren't bad enough, by the time he's able to get up, Mimasa and her big bazongas land on his face as well. Thankfully, she is a recovery mage, so she's able to take care of his injuries, but dang, Mimasa, you came to heal wounds, not cause them. Then they use her magic flower guidepost to get a look at the layout of the place. And funny enough, it's shaped just like the design on the tablet where all the magic stones went. Mimasa claims to see several large spaces, all with elf magic in them. And in order to meet up again, they'll have to defeat them all. That leads us into a series of fights. One between Asta, Mimasa, and Elf Rill, one between Marileona and Veto, one between Fulgolion and the elf reincarnate of the new captain of the Purple Orcas, one between Noelle and Fauna, and one between Yuno and Patry, Raya, and Rane. And that's the most important one of them at the moment, but for now we're gonna go look at the Asta and Mimasa fight. Don't worry, we're gonna blaze through these because we got a lot to cover in this episode. So basically, after the Vermilion siblings beat the elves they went toe-to-toe against, Yuno gathers a whole huge team of magic knights and proceeds to help out the Black Bulls. Giddy to see Yuno again, Charmy gives him a huge cupcake that restores magic power. After that, his necklace begins to shine and a laser shoots out of it and connects with the portal to the Shadow Palace. It's clear he needs to go there, and after hearing Asta's there, he can't just sit around and do nothing. So he and Charmy go charging in. This is important, trust me. Once they get there, they find they've been separated. Yuno is in a room with Patry and the others, and Charmy found herself with Asta and Mimasa. They're in the middle of a fight, right? Stuff is going nuts, Rill's magic is just spewing out monsters left and right, and Asta can't fend them off forever. Rill, not being able to make the perfect painting, gets frustrated, and then this girl Charmy, get this, just listen, she just sneaks up on him, past all the monsters and crap, and offers him this decked out delicious plate of food. Of course, him being an elf and all, he knocks it out of her hands and rejects her request. She immediately goes into serious Charmy mode and gets the big sheep out. But alas, it's not enough to stop Rill from doing his worst and knocking her out. She falls to the ground, out cold, when suddenly, there's a chill in the air. The sheep starts talking and asks if he can come out now. I don't know, man. No one cares which way you roll. Tell us. Don't tell us. We don't judge. Asta and Mimosa can't believe their eyes. The sheep was really a wolf in sheep's clothing! And Charmy is really half dwarf. However, this never made much sense to me. Dwarves are short, and Charmy is naturally short, but in her dwarf form, she's way taller. Ah, well, I don't have to get it. It's freaking epic. Rill recognizes this magic. The elf inside him had felt it long ago. It appears that Charmy wasn't aware of this either, but regardless, she doesn't care. All she knows is she's hungry. And so is the wolf. His favorite meal? Magic. He literally starts gobbling up every last bit of the spells Rill had cast. And it turns out that, back in the day, people of two races were able to wield multiple magical attributes. So, Charmy possesses cotton magic and food magic. How very Charmy-like. Anyway, after that, she starts punching Rill and dedicating each punch to carbs and fat and protein and stuff like that. And I am just so glad that Charmy exists. Like, can we just appreciate her? Anyway, she insists that the others go on, that she'll take care of Rill. So they go and find the room with the strongest magical power, which of course would be the one with the most elves in it. Speaking of which, we come to Yuno's fight, and what the elves are really after is Yuno's pendant, because it's actually a magic stone. They need this so they can put it in the pedestal and all that jazz, so there's a bit of fighting, and eventually this dude Rane just jumps in and grabs it. He's like, yoink, let me have that. Yuno's like, hey, that's mine, give it back. Sound familiar? But this time, no one shows up to take it back, and so Rane says something very important. He says, now we'll finally make things right. This wouldn't be important if it were true. The elves have been saying stuff like this since the beginning of the arc, but it's not true. He's lying. That's not what he wants. How do I know this? Because I read the freaking manga! Raya is able to sense when someone is lying, and what Rane said was a bold-faced lie. When Raya calls him out on it and asks who he is, he just smiles and magically puts a hole in Raya's stomach. Raya then reveals to us viewers through his thoughts that he knew Lumiere, the first Wizard King, wasn't behind the massacre hundreds of years ago, but he never said anything. He wanted to see Licht again more than anything, and was willing to let humans die to do it. He admits he's disloyal, and that a hole in the gut is his price to pay, but what he can't understand is who the heck the guy who put it there is. He suspects that someone is inside Rane and has been pulling his strings for some time now. Rane then says that he's reminded of the day where he created the first Grimoire of Despair and manipulated the bond between two four-leaf wielders. He then says that today is the day he acquires what should have been his a long time ago. He then walks up to the pedestal and places the stone inside. He explains that by doing this, one can attain whatever they want from the underworld. Suddenly, black magic starts gushing out of the pedestal and building up into this massive evil power. Black energy also comes out of Rane's head and joins the rest. It starts to take shape more and more until it reveals a devil. The devil then reveals that he had used everyone involved in this big mess. Every last bit of it was all his fault. The massacre, the hatred the elves had for the humans, even Patry getting Licht's body in a four-leaf clover. Everything that has happened in the Clover Kingdom for the past 500 years has all been part of his plan. Also, he could be revived with a body. He played them all like chess pieces on a game board. Patry can't accept it and fires off an attack at the creature, but the devil's magic allows him to speak things into existence. Whether it's just objects, magic, or realities, all he has to do is say, return, and the spell turns around and heads back at Patry. Yuno suddenly steps in and saves him, not because he cares about Patry, but because he's still using William Vengeance's body. Yuno then fires off a spirit storm, or wait, is it storm or stream? The manga says stream, but the anime says storm. I don't know. Storm sounds better, so spirit go storm! But of course, the devil vacuums it up with ease, not even having to lift a finger. He calls this his word soul magic, and it's obviously incredibly broken. Suddenly, Asta and Mimosa fall through the ceiling to help him out. Asta instantly feels like he knows what the devil is, having met a demon himself from inside him, of course. But the devil ignores them and calls forth Patry before stabbing him with spikes from the ground. Asta and Yuno charge in and go for the monster himself, but are suddenly showered with blades from above, both magic blades and physical ones, so Asta can't nullify them all. Since they're not doing the trick though, he uses his word soul magic to crush them into the ground, pushing harder and harder with every statement. The devil then explains to Patry that he was able to trick him because he was a mere child at the time, and he was perfect for the job because he was loved by Mana. Patry still can't accept this and refuses to believe anything but what he's believed most of his life. Asta and Yuno start to get back up, now with newfound determination, and as a result, their power is on full blast, and they become stronger. The elf inside Yuno, Licht's child to be exact, is waking up, and his power is amplifying Yuno's magic, while Asta's anti-magic is actually resonating with the word soul devils, and as a result, he's erasing the mana around him. Without delay, they get back up and charge once again, this time managing to cut the enemy. Meanwhile, Voltos and Raids are hiding outside, having witnessed everything from afar. They realize that they weren't the only victims in this mess. Patry had also been used. The devil then explains that when a 4-leaf grimoire is overtaken with despair, it becomes a 5-leaf, while he proceeds to do just that to Patry. Before long, Patry becomes what is called a dark elf. His skin becomes dark and his magic becomes ominous, and the devil tells him to rampage as he wishes. With that, he charges at Asta and blows him away with his sword. Then Yuno uses Spirit Storm. Wait, so it is Storm? So wait, then what was... I guess even the official translations aren't perfect. Not too long after, Patry starts to use the same spell he used when Asta hit him back in the past, releasing the seal he had set on himself to keep his magic at bay. But since Asta's stronger now, he's able to reflect it back at him, with Yuno's help of course. But it takes so much out of him that his black form disappears. That wouldn't be such a big deal, but Patry has so much magic that he's able to activate the same spell again. But this time, they can't protect themselves. Just when all is lost and death seems imminent, they're saved by Plot Armor! I mean, Nozzle! Nozzle? I don't know, this dude. People say his name all sorts of ways. It turns out that Nozelle's Mercury magic is actually perfect against light magic because of what it's made out of, and this allows him to subdue Patry. Meanwhile, Mimasa is healing Raya, and he can't even be mad because of his realization that they had all been duped. After some discussion on what to do, Asta comes to the conclusion that he needs to use his sword to rescue Patry. What he doesn't expect is that he's engulfed in anti-magic and sent down into Patry's mind and memories, where he can experience firsthand what he feels and see what he's done. He sees Julius dead. He sees the massacre from long ago. He sees it all. Then he sees the devil and realizes he's infiltrated his mind. Patry is under deep emotional trauma, and Asta feels that trauma full force. He then makes it past all that and finds himself in a space mostly empty, but with Patry in the middle, sitting in a chair in front of William Bongens, who's stuck in a tree and unconscious. He walks over and basically does the Black Clover equivalent of Tok no Jutsu, but it's a bit more satisfying this time around. Afterwards, he comes back out and Patry is mostly back to normal. He's emotionally stable, but still has the power he had back when he was rampaging. Meanwhile, the devil finds the door to the outside world, but before he can do anything, Licht shows up and wants to throw down. Unfortunately, there's not much he can do about this creepy black thing. God, Black Clover, why you gotta be so racist? Suddenly, Yami and Charlotte join the fight and instantly start showing that teamwork only destined lovers can have. Even the devil's like, dang, y'all make a good team. And Yami's like, yeah, it's weird, ain't it? Anyway, around that time elsewhere, Finral is still unconscious and the other magic knights are trying to escort him to safety. Nero flies down and starts pecking at his face. This instantly wakes Finral, and before he can figure out what's going on, Nero speaks. The mysterious anti-bird asks him to take it to the demon's bones, the ones in Hodge Village that Asta spent so many days exercising in. After some disbelief, he does as he's told, and Nero asks him to take the magic stones out of the tablet Patry had placed them in, and put them into the statue of the first Wizard King. So he does, and it starts to glow. It then begins to crack, and move, and talk? Furthermore, where Nero once was, he instead sees a person. A woman! Nero was a person the whole frickin' time. Her name is actually Secre Swallowtail, and she's known the first Wizard King for some time now. Over 500 years, in fact. Before Finral can have a chance to ask questions, they ditch him and head for the real action. And I mean like, they drop him. Meanwhile, getting back to Yami and Charlotte for a moment, their fight with the devil continues and begins to heat up. But just when they think they have a chance, he opens the door to the underworld, and as soon tsunami of evil magic comes spewing out. This is the most deadly kind of magic. If it touches you, it takes away your magic and life energy. Yami actually gets hit with it on his left arm, and it instantly looks like William Bonchins' face. That very magic makes its way throughout the Shadow Palace and over to Asta and Yuno and the others. Most of them are able to avoid it, but Asta gets buried in it. But thanks to his anti-magic, he remains completely unharmed. He really may be the key to stopping this whole predicament. Anyway, back to Secre and the First Wizard King. Along the way, we get the backstory as to why this bird and this statue are actually freaking people and how all that happened. Turns out that 500 years ago, Secre was a noble assigned to work under Lumiere, the man who would one day become the very first Wizard King. But back then, he was just a man who created magical tools he called magic items. Secre could only use sealing magic, which allowed her to seal and unseal things. This was deemed pitiful magic by her family, but Lumiere saw beauty in it and embraced her abilities. They grew to be quite fond of each other over time, but soon Secre noticed Lumiere and his sister Tetia sneaking out of the kingdom a lot. So, one day, she followed them, and to her surprise, they had been visiting the elves, the ones beloved by Mana, as she called them. Before long, Licht, the elf leader, and Tetia were to be married, and Lumiere was planting the seeds of unity between the elves and humans. Everything was wonderful, and all was going well, or so they thought. One day, Lumiere's father had summoned him, seemingly coincidentally, on the same day as Licht and Tetia's wedding. Confused, he did as he was told, knowing he'd be late to the ceremony, but when he got there, his father was nowhere to be seen. Instead, he found himself bound by magic, unable to move, and greeted by the minister, who didn't seem to be himself. He had actually been possessed by a demon, like Rane had been, the exact same demon actually, and that very monster had been pulling the strings even then. He tricked Lumiere's father and the rest of their people into thinking the elves had harmed Tetia, and they had no reason to not believe it, as they were not told about the wedding to begin with, since they would disapprove and all. The devil soon left the minister's body to cause more mayhem. Secre soon appeared and freed Lumiere from the magic restricting him, and they both headed for the home of the elves in hopes they could save them. But alas, it had already been too late. The elves had been massacred, with only Licht remaining, now possessed by the word-soul devil, and holding Tetia, now dead, in his arms. He looked up and saw Lumiere, shocked to see the disaster, and was relieved to know he had not been betrayed. He was able to reclaim his heart, but he had taken in so much negative magic to save others from it that he would soon be engulfed in evil against his will. And of course, with that, he transformed into the demon we all know had attacked the Clover Kingdom, and that same demon we see at the beginning of every episode. But seriously, this is actually what happened that day. This is the context behind it. The true story as to how the demon skull got there, and why that statue stood on top of it. Licht asked one final thing of Lumiere, and it was something only he could do. He needed Lumiere to kill him before he took the lives of thousands against his own desire. It was a tragic story, and a fight neither of them wanted to have. But as we all know, Lumiere would kill Licht and save the people of the Clover Kingdom. During that whole fiasco, Secre sealed the devil using forbidden magic involving the magic stones, knowing that it would rid her of her human form, but not caring. The devil planned to work much more carefully in the future, in an era where the ones opposing him would no longer exist, and he would be unstoppable. But in the moment, Secre didn't care, and moved forward to save the prince who had been badly injured during the battle. It would take even more forbidden magic to do this, but she was determined to save the hero who had brought peace to the Clover Kingdom, for he was, and is, the key to a peaceful future. For 500 years, she watched over Licht's grimoire, which obviously had been turned into a 5-leaf clover, as all 4 leaves do when they are overtaken with despair, and soon enough, Asta would find this grimoire and call it his own. Everything comes together to bring us to the climax of this arc of epicness. So, the revived Lumiere and transformed Secre finally joined the others in their fight against the creepy black thing, and Asta and Yuno are like, oh my god, 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 it's him! And Asta realized that he recognized Secre's key. Secre tells Lumiere who everyone is and what they've done for the kingdom, so he knows he can trust them, and then she insists they wake up Licht. Secre explains that while her sealing magic used to only open and close things, it evolved during her time working with Lumiere, and now she can undo any seal. She goes to Licht and uses her magic, and almost instantly, he finally returns to full consciousness. And now, he's finally able to thank Lumiere for saving him and the rest of the kingdom 500 years ago. The devil also remembers those days and vows to bury them both all together this time. But they ignore him, and Licht confronts Patry for what he's done. He says that although he believed what he had done was justice, in the eyes of those he struck, it was an unforgivable crime, and that he may not be forgiven. But Licht also goes out of his way to acknowledge that Patry had tried his best in the name of his people. Sentiments aside, all they can do for now is take down this creature of darkness and end this 500-year-long fight. Lumiere and Licht get ready to throw down, and we finally get to see them use some magic. We've actually never seen Licht use any magic, and seeing Lumiere alongside him just makes this better. It turns out that they're able to take out magic from the underworld because they've been affected by it. One of them uses forbidden magic and the other absorbed it, so naturally it doesn't harm them the way it would most. Kind of like Asta, but for different reasoning. Even the devil knows the two of them together are too fast and too powerful. He has to resort to dirty tricks to have a chance, and of course, he knows this. So he summons a spear and cuts off Lumiere's arm. But since he's not actually human anymore, this doesn't hurt and he's still able to fight and all that jazz. In this instant, however, Asta jumps in undetected due to his lack of magic and takes the devil on himself. Also, can I just point out that Lumiere is sweating, even though he's made of stone. He has no sweat glands. How the frick is this freaking possible? The spear he's using is supposed to destroy anything it touches, but Asta's sword disregards this rule, and he's able to hold him back momentarily. But the devil's word soul magic is just too broken, and even if the spear can't affect Asta, his words can. He sends him back and fires off a barrage of blades at him, but Lumiere, Patry, and Licht jump in and block them all. Yuno then notices that Licht's mana feels warm and nostalgic, like there's some sort of connection between the two of them. This is obviously because Yuno has Licht's son inside him. Secre heals the Wizard King's injury, and Asta starts to wisen up about who Secre is. But before he can properly ask, she's just like, shut the frick up and fight, you meathead. The devil then acknowledges that the magic of today, although nothing compared to him, is rather impressive compared to back in the day. And he's got a point. There are types of magic today that probably didn't exist back then. Secre has more balls than most dudes though, because she starts calling out the devil like the punk he is. The devil shrugs off these remarks and warns them that if they don't kill him, the magic of the underworld will consume everyone in the palace, and that the only exit is on the top floor. Licht then gets the bright idea to use his Demon Dweller sword to absorb the magic of his companions and unleash a devastating attack, one that he believes will kill the devil all on its own. Soon after, all the elves in the area start to naturally give up their mana for his attack. Then we get to see what is called ultimate sword magic, and it seems to completely eradicate the devil. It really would have killed him had his heart not had a mouth to speak as well. His heart declares that he's healed, and so it happens. Asta then realizes that he's got powers no one can fathom because he has no magic. Meanwhile, Gelder and Revchi are barely staying alive in the midst of this otherworldly magic all around them, only surviving because of Gelder's transparency magic, but even that will run out soon. Not that we particularly love these characters, but no one needs to die here but the devil. Elsewhere, it appears that Licht's attack from earlier was so powerful it was able to destroy parts of the palace, which isn't surprising. It was a massive amount of mana. It also appears that Charlotte healed Yami's arm, and now neither of them owe each other anything. He can sense the devil's magic and ki, and then remembers his dark magic has an effect on it. He comes to the conclusion that if he can land a solid hit on him, he can end this. He also considers the fact that Asta is their only other possible solution, and that's really about it. Anti-magic starts overflowing out of Asta's sword, but it's too much for him to control, and it sends him flying randomly. He rushes over to the devil again, and he counters with his spear, but the anti-magic cuts through it completely. This throws the devil off, but he doesn't let it discourage him, and he starts summoning monsters out of the underworld magic. They charge at him, but Lumiere steps in and rescues him. Before he can thank him, however, Asta accidentally clobbers him with his sword. While Asta's trying to get his anti-magic to take shape, Lumiere explains that it's too powerful, that he won't even be able to use magic for a while. Secre gets the idea to seal his anti-magic in the hopes that it will control it. Yuno, on the other hand, can't do anything but wonder why Asta's taken so long and not getting his crap together. He's got a point though. If Asta can't control his power, he can't be the Wizard King, so he really needs to figure out something. Suddenly, he's like, alright, since you ain't doing nothing, I'm gonna just unlock a new spell real quick and get ahead. Bye-bye now. And unveils his own wind magic sword spell called Spirit of Zephyr. Or Zephyr? Zephyr? I don't know. Asta gets the memo and awakens his new spell too, and it's notably his very first. It's called Black Divider, and it'll probably be his trump card. Lumiere is amazed at them both, but Secre knows Asta is just some idiot who happened to work harder than anyone else and doesn't know how to quit. So without hesitation, the two rivals charge through the evil magic with their new power-ups, and through their advanced teamwork, or you could say the power of friendship, Asta ends up landing a clean hit and piercing the devil. But because of course it is, his heart wasn't where his sword landed, and then mouths start appearing all over his body. Suddenly, his heart starts speaking weird spells, and the underworld worm monsters start charging at Asta again. Then they notice that this stuff is just falling all around him, and things are so intense that even Patry doesn't think they'll make it. Licht and Lumiere prioritize the importance of saving the modern generation of mages over themselves, and get their game faces on. Secre reminisces about how when she first found Asta, she intended to only use him, and that she had no respect for him at first. But as she watched him fight and grow, she began to want to believe in him, and now she believes he can win this. This is great because it shows she's been developing as a character this whole time. The devil begins to get serious and starts spouting off the most awful things with his word soul magic, and the underworld magic starts rampaging towards them at full force, and the best they can do is slash through it all one bit at a time. The devil knows Asta's anti-magic will hurt him, that's why he moved his heart out of the way when he attacked it. He knows that they're more than capable of killing him, and he's scared. Lumiere recognizes that they need to leave the devil to Asta and Yuno since they trust each other so well, and that he and Licht should help out the others who need assistance. Meanwhile, everyone else not involved with the fight with the devil start to see the underworld magic, and the feeling of it alone tells them they need to flee and get the frick away from it. Lumiere and Licht decide to team up and use their magic to protect everyone all around the palace by using the Demon Dweller sword, which is meant to bring everyone together, along with Lumiere's light magic to shield those who need it. But while they're protecting everyone, they're wide open, so Patry decides to jump in and protect them, this time not doubting their friendship. Asta's new spell and his injuries are a bit too much for him, and the pain is starting to take a toll. In that instant, he feels a big jolt of pain, and evil magic is headed his way when Yuno rushes in and saves him. They agree that he needs to charge toward the devil and just finish him already. Meanwhile, Yami gets the idea to strike him from far away with a huge dark slash. There's no guarantee it'll work, but anything is worth trying at this point. But back to the fight, Asta and Yuno charge through once again and end up both hitting him, but still not his heart because this has to go on longer and this video has to be 3 hours long. Yami fires off his attack and, with the power of Mana Zone, unleashes a new spell we've never seen from him before. He calls it Dark Cloak Dimension / Equinox, and it's gotta be his strongest spell to date. It's gotta be something special because it cuts the devil right in half, and it turns out that according to the devil himself, dark magic interferes with the other world. In shock, Asta falls back, but Secre catches him and uses her sealing magic to seal away his physical injuries. Now it's all up to whether Asta can summon forth his anti-magic power. Yuno's giving it all he's got and pushing past his limits second by second, and Secre reminds Asta why he's fighting for all of this in the first place. Suddenly, Asta's Black Divider becomes massive. He declares, "Right here, right now, I'll surpass my limits!" and slashes the foul beast that set his own demise in motion 500 years ago. In the midst of his disbelief, he sees the anti-magic devil sitting before him, laughing at his misfortune. The word soul devil doesn't seem to recognize him, and he's fine with that. And he sees no reason for him to know his identity, which is Tabata's way of saying he's gonna remain a mystery for quite a while. This also tells us that the anti-magic devil holds a grudge against other demons, and that he's been an outcast in demon society for not being able to use magic, just like Asta. The fight is over, and the good guys won. They can finally rest for a moment and appreciate their victory. Or can they? Turns out that the otherworldly magic didn't disappear just because the devil was killed, and the palace is collapsing. Not only that, but Lumiere's magic is running out, and his body starts to crumble. Suddenly, Voltos drops everyone off with everyone else, and everyone is finally reunited. But the only exit is at the top of the palace, and so everyone charges that way, running for their lives. But they come to realize that the elves who weren't in the palace still believe the humans are guilty, and are still trying to kill everyone. Asta's one sword isn't enough to save everyone, but Patry steps up and says, "If Licht is here, there is still a way." He then explains that since William is asleep inside of him, he can use his world tree magic to gather all the magic and life force in the kingdom and use it to free the elves of their reincarnations, as well as inform them of the truth they had discovered. Valtos, despite knowing what he had done, still gives Patry back his grimoire, because no matter who he was, he saved him in the past, and that meant the world to Valtos. Asta is then ordered to undo Patry's reincarnation so that William and Licht may finish the job. Patry acknowledges that disappearing like this may not be enough of a price to pay for the devastation he had caused, and honestly, he's right. He should have some kind of punishment. I mean, Julius died because of him. Patry leaves the world of the living, and William returns, willing to lay the groundwork for the end of this mess. And it's the least he can do with everything he's done. He and Licht use combo magic to fix everything, and within moments, and with a little help from Asta, everything is right again. Some of the elves, specifically the Third Eye, can't leave just yet because their souls are tightly attached to their bodies, and they've reincarnated twice now, so they're stuck on Earth. With that, everyone is back to normal and conscious, and the crisis is over. The kingdom can now recover from the devastation. And after that, the elves finally leave. Well, except one. Raids unlocks a new spell and uses it to bring back Patry's soul? Wait, so he could do that? Seriously? Nah, I'm just kidding. This is no surprise to me, but it's still seriously crazy and kind of overly broken. But more than that, he does it because he can't forgive Patry for what he did, and doesn't think he should be able to just disappear into existence. He swears that he'll kill him one day, and that he'd better watch his back. Although I'm pretty sure Patry can flatten raids, but that's a whole other video. Patry and William finally get to meet in person, but their moment is short-lived when William asks Yami to take him to the Wizard King. Meanwhile, everyone else is assessing the situation and organizing how to move on from here, but it seems there are still some goodbyes to get out of the way. Asta also finally puts the pieces together about why Secre is so familiar, and Lumiere's body continues to crumble. It's apparent that he'll be leaving momentarily, so Secre takes the time to talk to him. She expresses that she wants to leave with him, but he says that she should stay and watch over everyone. He doesn't want her to close off her full potential, and so he fades away, finally able to rest, leaving her to the new generation of knights. Meanwhile, William and Yami get to where the epic battle took place, but to their surprise, they can't find Julius anywhere. Suddenly, they feel a strange magic behind them, and they can't believe their eyes. I'm not gonna tell you. If you want to know, watch the anime, read the manga, whatever you want to do, but you won't get spoiled any further with this video. It's finally over. This series is done, and I can finally rest for a day or two. Well, not really, actually. I've got a lot to do, but at least I'm done with this. I'm not normally too tired after these videos, but this one was way too freaking long, and I will never, ever, 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 ever do another video this long again, ever. With that being said, thank you all for watching. If you like this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button. Let us know what else you'd like to see, as we talk about Black Clover quite a lot, and love doing so. If you're not subscribed already, feel free to take care of that as well, and be sure to hit the bell button, so you never miss a balls deep notification. With all that being said, this video is 7,303 words long. But thank you for listening to them all, or at least most of them, or even just a few of them. It means the world to us, and we hope to see you next time. Bye-bye!